Hello. I thought that I would show you now the final step here in working on your model. Well, at least as far as building the model, because it's important to make sure that you also make copies of your elevation and your ground plan. So I got both of those here, but that you make copies of these so that you can, and onto watercolor paper so that you can color them so we know what they're going to look like as you propose your scene design. So I finished up my model piece here, my elevations. I don't know, I was just playing with the idea of drawing a roof structure and then maybe even mountains or fjords or pointy bits. I don't know, they work on a number of levels. Maybe something worth exploring. If I don't like them later, I can always cut them off. But this is my elevation. I made a copy, so I just have a clean copy this way. I don't have to add dimensions or anything to it. I know how big it is, particularly since it's 1/4 inch scale, and I'm gonna, I got my little person there. But what I also did was to copy the thing onto cardstock. So I got myself one of these little cutters from the drawer in the cupboard. And you want to make sure that they're sharp. So I recommend that you just take pliers and snap that blade off of there. If you go fast, it should just break right off. Sometimes you can throw the blade away. If you're good, you can take the little end cap off here, and that'll help to break it. But by breaking it, then it gives you a nice sharp edge for cutting these things. Now, one thing I think that's important to keep in mind here is that I want to leave myself some structure so that when I go to build this thing and put it on the model, it has some strength and some integrity. So if you note here, I'll just take some of this cardstock, and this is kind of to the left of the sink in the little shelf unit that's there. So here's my cardstock, and by its nature, it's just kind of wonky and floppy. But if I take my cardstock, say this is my unit that I'm working on here, and I use a good straight edge, I could also use one of these dull kind of triangles, not a new shiny one, but a kind of a yucky one. I can use that for my straight edge. But once I've cut out a wall unit here, one thing to keep in mind is if I lightly score, and I'm going to press real lightly with this, if I lightly score along here, I'm using my straight edge, barely pushing down. That gives me a really nice edge there. And when I fold this thing over, oh, look how much stronger that is. I don't get that same kind of wiggly-woggly bit. And if this were a unit that I was using, and I was putting two units together, notice here what I'm doing is I'm going to do the same thing to this other piece, very lightly scored. If I cut too deep, it's just going to fall right off. So I lightly score that. Then if I need to put these together, I totally can because I've got a surface here, and I can glue them. So if I have two walls that are coming together and I need them to join, this will strengthen the wall, but also, can you see that? It will also give me a surface to glue to. Now, how am I going to attach this at the base? Well, that's a really good question. I would say what I'm going to do is create a similar kind of little slice and tab at the bottom of each of these walls. So, and again, these are just me mucking around so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Hopefully you can tell. And I'm going to slice this one also. But now notice I have this bit here where they're kind of coming together, and I'm going to need to slice through there. So when I fold this, that folds and that folds. Did you see how I did that? I just flopped that around. I'll do it on this one so that you can see. I'm going to cut through this all the way, just that little bit where I know that I'm making my tab. So this folds, and that folds, and it comes around, but it doesn't get weird at the corner. It actually adds some more strength to it. So Sorry, I gotta muck around here with this computer so I can see what I'm doing. So I've got this here and that there, and that all comes together. Okay. So that works quite well. So what I'm going to do is take my wall unit and I'm going to actually cut larger than the drawing. I think you can see that pretty well here. I'm going to go bigger around on both sides. I'm not worried about that little person that's over there. And I'm going to leave myself some material at the bottom to form those tabs, right? And then up here, I'm just going to slice this out so that I can remove it from the rest of the cardstock. Do you see how I sliced that? I didn't get too close to that straight away. So now I've got this sitting here. And actually, to make my doors work, I'm going to slice along the edge of the door. Ooh, stay right along that edge. That gets weird. And I'm going to come down here as well. And I'm going to cut to the edge of the door frame, right? And I'm going to go down the center of the door. Now, I'm pushing pretty hard here, so this slices all the way through, right? I think I actually want to use my metal straight edge. This triangle's not working real well for me. But over here along the edge of the door, I don't know if you can see that real well, right along here. So I've sliced through this quite thoroughly. I hope I got a little nub there that needs to be finished. But over here, what I'm going to do is slice along here just a little bit, pushing. But I'm not going all the way through. It's just scoring the material, right? So I got that. Now, so I've cut this. So when I go to fold it, I can open my doors. Isn't that nifty? See how I got my doors so they flop open? Here you can see it from below, and there it is. So you can see how that works. But I'm going to put those back into place, and I'm going to come along and I'm going to score along the bottom of the wall. There we go. And I'm going to score along the side of the wall all the way up. Ta-da! And I'm not pushing real hard. I've got a sharp blade, and I'm just lightly scoring, but I'm using the straight edge. I'm not just freehanding. It's so much easier if you use a straight edge. But up here, I'm going to actually go ahead and freehand and slice out these weird little triangular shapes. Again, just trying something, experimenting. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it'll look weird on the model. But it certainly gives me a point to start. And can you see how I'm just slicing away, cutting these out of here so that as I go, these are removed. And now I have my profile at the top. I have these folded, but I got to remember to get rid, or not rid of that little square, but that I'm going to slice through with that little bit. So I left this bottom plate along here, this whole bit there, which gives me a little more strength at the bottom. And then I've got this, which is turning a corner. Can you see that? Ta-da, that makes that stronger. And I sliced there. Now I got a weird bit happening here, so I'm going to cut some of that away because I don't want that sticking out. But as I had mentioned before, one of the things I want you to think about is what's happening in the negative space. I could tell if I looked at this some more and I went, yeah, this isn't working. I could slice that out. I could say, oh, I'll just actually go with the straight line across the top. But I think it's going to be better if I start with something like this. And then I can go ahead and I can cut my other wall unit out right here. But since I've got this on cardstock, it's pretty sturdy. And what I did was I copied the ground plan onto some cardstock. And I know that this is wall B because it was there on my drawing. And this, do you see, because I used the trace paper and or I took the scale rule that I had made and made sure that this matched up exactly to this bit. So that lines up really well. So now I've got this wall unit here that I can create, and I can actually take it and I can stick it into place right there like that. The kind of glue that I recommend is this tacky glue, Aleene's glue. There should be some bottles of it in the design studio. Do cork it up when you're not using it. The nice thing about these big bottle dispensers is that when you use this cap and stand it up, it keeps the glue down here at this end. It's a nice design. So I've got my wall, and I know that it's what I want to, you know, this wall's working for me, and I'm ready to proceed with sticking this wall down. I just ran a small bead along there. I really recommend that you avoid tape, because tape, I think, is just going to frustrate you. Now notice too that one of the things that's happening here with my wall, and this will be the case, I think, if you were actually to build this thing, you would find that the wall, since it's a freestanding unit, either needs to be flown, which means you're going to run it up to the grid, or you're going to add some kind of vertical support over here. I don't know if you can see that pretty well. I could run that up to the grid, and I'm going to put this into my model later on. So I really could try taking it over to one of those little 1/4-inch models in the design studio, see how it fits. Or the other option that I have is to cut myself a little jack brace. John talks about using those in the shop with some regularity, because what they do is stabilize these units. Now, I almost cut right there onto my ground plan, but do you see how that's all fallen over? I have a solution. So I'm going to take this, and this was the unit that I had previously made. So it already has the little fold, the bit that'll go on there. So now if I take this and I stick it on the back, can you see how this is going to work? I can glue that right on there. Nobody's going to see it, and it's going to hold that wall right in place. So I'm going to take this glue. The other nice thing about this glue is it's water soluble, so it doesn't matter if it gets on you. It won't hurt your skin. It doesn't have a bad smell like some are real chemical based. This is more like super thick Elmer's glue, I think. But I've got my my little bit of a jack brace sitting here now, and it should hold my wall up. It doesn't seem to be sticking well, so I'm going to come along and add just a little bit more glue on here. That should do it. And I may have to hold it in place for a little while, but that gives me a very good beginning for my model. And I can also build myself some furniture. I can create the other scenic elements. I could even get some other cardboard and put it in here for my masking. See how I've already got one of these created, so I could actually make my masking panels if I wanted to and just add those into the mix. But you can also leave these out for now, just to kind of get a sense of your model and how all of this is going to work. But the great thing with this bit is you can see how these doors are opening, and I have my little scale person in there. And really, it just gives me an opportunity to begin to see how, when I drew this as a ground plan and then I drew elevations, how the whole thing comes together now in 3 dimensions. So the view from above, right, and then the view from the front with the elevation, and now what's happening here in 3 dimensions. Hopefully this is helpful. Let me know if I can be of assistance along the way as well.